In this tutorial, we are going to look at converting Python code that uses a turtle from a block of instructions into reusable sections of code. This will allow us to spell out different words from the letters we're going to draw. You should load up the tutorial Python notebook, which is in Jupyter Notebook. And the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you click on Run for the pip install, and this will let the turtle work within the notebook. If I run this code here, I need to just wait to make sure that this is finished first of all. So that was successful. And if I now run this code here and scroll down the page, we should see the words file it being drawn by the Python turtle. So the Python turtle is following a set of instructions, and notice that these instructions have been commented so that, for example, the beginning of each letter has a comment in the code, and what the instructions are doing is explained beside that instruction. So this is a good habit to get into when you make your code. So I've managed to spell out the word file it, but what if I wanted to change the word? What if I wanted to change to the word fillet, F-I-L-L-E-T, instead of file it? Well, I could start to hack about with this code and remove sections, maybe copy and paste sections, but that is not an ideal way to work with the code. So what we're going to do instead is to try to convert it all using defined functions. If I try to run this code here, which uses named functions, you'll see that it says draw letter F is not defined. So I'm asking it to draw a command, draw letter F, but it doesn't have this command in its book of recipes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my original code here, and I'm going to find the section that says begin the letter F. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this block of code here and turn it into a reusable section, a reusable function. So I'm going to click after my comment here, and I'm going to say def, which is for define, and then I need to spell the next bit exactly the same way that I want to use it. So draw capital L for letter underscore F. Now this isn't the only way we could name these things, but if we stick to the same convention each time, then it will work. Because this is a function, it needs to have round brackets after it. Open and close the round brackets, and then I also need to have a colon that defines the block of code. Now, the code that comes inside a recipe, inside a function, has to be indented, and you'll see that the IntelliSense here has tried to indent a couple of lines here. But what we need to do is we need to indent all of the code that draws the letter F. So I'm going to highlight all of this section here, which is easier said than done. There we go. All of that section there. And I'm going to press tab. I'm going to press tab a couple of times so it's obviously moved in from the side. And now, if I attempt to, first of all, run this code, one of the things that we'll notice is that when it draws, the letter F hasn't been drawn this time. It just started drawing an I. But the letter F is now kept as working code, so that if I try to use it here, it should draw me an F. And it's obviously done a rerun from the previous and added it on to what was there. So, what I want to do, draw letter F is now good, draw letter I, L, and E, and so on, these are still problems because we don't have our recipe for these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my code section, and I'm going to make sure that every single letter has its own defined function. I make a space after begin I. I say def draw letter underscore I. I need to have brackets for the function, and I need to have a colon to say start the block here. After the colon, everything has to be indented. That's the way Python works. If I try to run this code without doing that, one of the things that we'll see is that we will get an indentation error. So if you ever see an indentation error, expected an indented block after the function definition, it's because following the colon, we need to move the block in. So I'm going to highlight all of this code here. I'm going to press Tab a couple of times to neatly indent it. I'm going to do the same down here. Def, and I can just tab that to say draw letter L, because it's recognized that I want to make the same kind of function here. My letter L, I need to indent the code for that. So I'm going to highlight here and press Tab a couple of times. I'm going to do the same with my letter E. So def, draw letter E, and then I'm going to indent the block of code that draws the letter E. Tab. Now notice this section here is a for loop. It repeats this section of code twice. There isn't any comments on here to explain this bit here. But because I've got a colon here, the code that follows needs to be indented. So this is a common theme within Python. When we want to define a block that happens, that's either named or repeated, we use a colon at the start of the block and we indent the code that forms that section. I'm also going to make a space. So def draw letter space. Make sure that all of the code gets indented. So tab that into the same level. I don't need to define a second letter I. I'm going to reuse the letter I, so I don't need to have the code twice. I'm just going to leave this code section here just now, but I do need to define the letter T. So def draw letter T, and then I'm going to indent all of this code to the same level. And now I'm going to rerun this section. And that didn't quite work. Let me just try that again. So rerun this section. This time you can see we've got one letter I drawn because I left that code for the letter I in. But now, when I come down to here and run this code, I'm going to clear the output first of all. So clear selected output, and then run the code. And it seems to have gone slightly wrong. So what we need to do is to make sure that all of our recipes for these letters work correctly. I've got F-I-L-E, and then it's come across here and gone a little bit wrong at this part here. It's got an I, but the final T is maybe not quite working. So there's some debugging to be done where I need to just check. What I think I might do is to come up here and get this begin second I, and I'm going to comment out all of this code. So the easy way to comment out a whole block of code is to put 3 quotation marks at the start and then 3 quotation marks at the end. So there's no second I anymore. It's all turned red here to show it's not going to be used. And I'm going to run that code again. And you can see that it's moved to the start, but nothing has been drawn. And then I'm going to clear the selected outputs here, and I'm going to run this code again. There's F-I-L-E-I-T. So between that I and that T, something is going wrong. And I suspect what happened there is that when I was putting the letter T in, it drew some extra code. The IntelliSense put in code it thought was correct. So I'm just going to comment out 3 lines that I think it put in, because I want to start by saying lift the pen and move to the middle, and then take the code that comes from here. So the Gemini intelligence here added in 3 lines because it thought I wanted them, but be very careful about accepting the AI suggestions. Always make sure you're in charge of your code and not the computer. So if I run that, nothing happens there. If I now run this, F-I-L-E, I, and T, and so we can see that I've been able to spell out the word file space it. However, the main advantage of our recipes is that we can reuse them. So I'm going to take a section of code from the top here. So I'm just going to take my startup code, and copy that. And then I'm going to add a new section below fileIt. So I'm going to go between the sections. It's got plus code or plus text. I'm going to say plus code. I'm going to paste in this bit here, which should reset my screen. And then I'm also going to paste in some sections of this here. So I'm going to copy that code there, paste it here, but instead of file space it, I'm going to spell out the word fillet. So I need double L. So I'm going to put one more copy of draw letter L. And then I don't need to have a space, so I'm going to remove that. I don't need a letter I, so I'm going to remove that. So it should now say F-I-L-L-E-T when I run the code. And you can see F-I-L, and here's a second L, E-T. So I've managed to spell a different word only using the reusable recipes. Your challenge now is to try to rearrange these words here, and I would like you to try and spell out lifetime. So we've got L, I, F, and E, and T, and I. So you only need to add our recipe for the letter M, and then reuse all the letters which are already here. So good luck with that, and hopefully you will be reusing, you will be adding a defined function just as we did for here, but you're going to start begin letter M and then def draw letter M with a recipe for that code.